the observant Eid prayers at home. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, while making the announcement, said the President's decision to pray at home is also in line with the directive of the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar III, which suspended all congregational prayers. This is also in line with the directive of the Sultan of Sokoto and President General of the Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar III, suspending Eid congregational prayers across the country, as well as the protocol against mass gathering issued by the PTF on COVID-19. President Muhammadu Buhari has urged Muslims to keep their spirits up in spite of COVID-19. According to him, the pandemic caught the world off guard and has dampened what would otherwise have been a time of celebration for the Muslim faithful who are marking the end of the Ramadan fasting period. He said this in a solemn message on the occasion of the Eid al-Fitr, noting that the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a heavy toll on the people's spiritual, social and economic lives. According to the President, this year's fasting period was particularly challenging for Muslims because they had to forgo many important aspects of their daily worship, including the routine congregations of prayer and the recitation and interpretation of the Holy Quran, as well as traveling for the lesser pilgrimage to Mecca. He, however, noted that while it was not easy to give up many of these important duties and activities, it became imperative to do so in order to limit the spread of the coronavirus. Speaking further, he noted that this year's Eid event is an occasion for sober reflection rather than celebration. He prayed that Allah eases the hardship among the people as the country struggles to flatten the curve, while wishing all Nigerians Eid Mubarak. Muslims in Ogun State have joined the rest of the world to celebrate this year's Eid al-Fitr with a call on all faithful to reflect on the lessons of the period in all their endeavors and continue in good deeds. Some notable Muslim faithful observed the Eid prayers at home, while members of their households, in accordance with the guidelines for the prevention of the spread of COVID-19. Matthew Shomi reports.
The end of 30 days of fasting and prayers during the month of Ramadan, and as usual, Islamic faithful are expected to gather at different places of worship to observe the Eid prayers, which is a crucial part of the celebration. The celebration is different this year as it is devoid of the usual gathering at different Eid prayer grounds as people continue to follow the guidelines for the prevention of COVID-19 pandemic. In keeping with the advice of Islamic leaders, people have decided to observe the Eid prayers at home with members of their households. The prayer at the home of the former Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Alhaja Salmot Badru, led by her first son, presented an opportunity to offer prayers to Allah for the peace and progress of the state and the nation at large, while asking for his intervention in bringing an end to the current challenges facing the world.
During the Ramadan, all the practices we did throughout the Ramadan should continue even after Ramadan. Though Ramadan is one of the pillars of Islam, but it teaches us a lot of lessons. All these practices that we did during the Ramadan, going very near to our Creator, making sure that we pray all the time, including the midnight, we must continue it. Giving alms to the less privileged that we did during the Ramadan must continue.
The Wakil Muslimi of Yoruba Land, Edo and Delta, Imam Iskil Lawal, led his household in the Eid prayer at his home. Imam Iskil Lawal says this is a trying period in the history of the world, adding that the opportunity of the Ramadan period should be used by the people of all faiths to offer prayers to God to heal the world, as he advocates opening of worship centers without compromising the fight against the virus.
My message to all Muslims is to be trustworthy, then to pray, because this time around Nigeria needs a prayer. Nigeria needs a prayer. for the coronavirus, the Boko Haram, and others. We need prayer for the peace. And my message to our government is to look into the problem of poor people.
They speak on the lessons the world needs to draw from the unusual Eid al-Fitr celebration.
It's teaching us that we can't continue in the normal ways that we've been doing things. There is need for change, and definitely there is going to be a new order.
Let me commend our governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, for outstanding efforts.
They praised the efforts of the current administration in Ogun State in the battle against COVID-19 pandemic. Matthew Showomi, Ogtv News.
As Muslims across the world mark the end of the annual 30 days of Ramadan, Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun has sent a message to Nigerian Muslim faithful as they celebrate Eid al-Fitr, urging all citizens to keep faith, rededicate themselves to finding solutions to the coronavirus pandemic. He also urged Nigerians to live in peace with one another, even as the dreaded virus continues to wreak havoc across the world. A statement by his Chief Press Secretary, Kole Shumori, also advised Nigerians to avoid making reckless claims and non-compliance that could flatten the curve of the deadly virus. The governor applauds the resilience, understanding, and patriotic zeal of not only Muslims but all Nigerians on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr. He expressed joy that more people are recovering from the pandemic as residents abide by the medical protocol of physical distancing, testing, wearing of face masks, and all other measures, including the curfew and lockdown rules. Governor Abiodun enjoins Nigerians to allow the lessons of Ramadan, namely piety, self-denial, prayers, and generosity to the poor and needy, to be internalized and be with all for all time. That way, residents will be more spiritually and socially fulfilled. He again appealed to all Nigerians to avoid reckless statements or actions that will aggravate the spread of the virus and tension in the country. He wished all happy Eid al-Fitr. Trace Corps Commander, Commandant Abdul Fatai Olasheni Okunyemi, has congratulated Trace Corps Muslim Umar on the successful completion of the Ramadan fast, which is obligatory on all Muslim faithful as one of the 5 pillars of Islam. According to him, Ramadan is a time of denial for the atonement of sin in order to reconcile and make amends with Almighty Allah for the salvation of the soul. He prays Almighty Allah to accept their supplications as an act of ibadah and arrest the COVID-19 pandemic spread, which has continued to ravage humanity across the globe. Moreover, he expressed hope and prayed that Almighty Allah will continue to guide, protect, and lead in the right stead the management, officers, and men of Trace Corps in this generous endeavor of providing effective and efficient service delivery to road users in the state, and indeed the present administration under the able leadership of the state governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, as administration clocks 1 year in office. He also urged members of the public to continue to play safe, stay safe, and drive safely to stay alive. Eid al-Fitr is celebrated by Muslim faithful worldwide to mark the end of Ramadan. It is the only day in the month of Shawwal during which Muslims are not permitted to fast. In this report, Shemilori Amore takes a look at the significance of the celebration to Muslims. Her reports.
Eid al-Fitr is a joyous occasion for the Muslim community. Being one of the most important festivals in the Islamic calendar, Eid al-Fitr marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan and is celebrated across the world. The celebration of Eid begins with the sighting of the new moon. It is believed that the first revelation of Holy Quran was received by Prophet Muhammad during the holy month of Ramadan. According to some clerics, the celebration is a way of paying respect and thanking Allah for giving his followers strength and endurance to observe a month-long fast.
Eid al-Fitr is one of the celebrations that Prophet Muhammad actually enjoyed us to do after the 30 days of Ramadan. So it's a celebration all over the world, just to celebrate the happiness of Allah, the commandment of Allah that as soon as the Ramadan is over, we should be able to celebrate it. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us to begin, and the end of the day we're able to finish either the 29th or the 30th day of the Ramadan.
Allah says that observe the fast has been instructed to the people before you, so that you can be of a man of faith. You can be of someone that has the fear of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Ramadan brings nothing to you than taking you closer to your Creator. It increases your iman. It increases your faith. So, and after Ramadan, the message I'll pass to everyone out there is, please, let us maintain the taqwa, the faith that we observe during the Ramadan. Let us continue having that same pious life that we live in during the Ramadan. We can as well continue that life after the Ramadan.
The clerics also appeal to faithful to see this period as a time of intense spiritual reformation and devotion to Allah.
If we look at the whole thing, I believe Allah is just trying to send a message across, because if you look at the entire world, the sin on earth is too much. So I believe that is why God wants to punish us for it. That's why He made everybody to be at home. And I know even our leaders too will have learned one or two things after this whole thing. And we, the followers too, might have learned some things. So I believe this will go. It will go. It's a thing that comes and it will go, inshallah. By next year, I believe everybody enjoyed us to follow whatever our leaders might have asked us to do. So we should sit down at home, enjoy with our family, so as not to spread this virus, because it is real. So some people not believe it is real. It is actually real.
You observe your 5 daily prayer, the neighbors that you brought together, that you give them sadaqah to jariyah, that you don't care whoever they are, you give them money, you eat together with them. You can as well continue that life. It is so good. It brings you forth and it brings you more closer to your Creator. May Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us and give us the hearts to worship Him till eternity.
Eid-e-Fitr generally sees people gather in open spaces or mosques for special prayers. But this year's celebration is different, as government have expanded restrictions to curb the spread of the pandemic. Shemiluri Amore, Ogtv News.
Thank you, Shemilore. The Ogtv News will continue shortly after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still Ogtv News. Wife of Ogun State Governor Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun will on Wednesday, May 27, 2020, host the Children of the State online to mark this year's Children's Day. A statement from the Office of the First Lady said the virtual session necessitated by COVID-19 lockdown is necessary to celebrate the children and further give an assurance of a brighter tomorrow. The session, which will be via a video conferencing app, features children from all the 20 local government areas of the state participating in different activities that include panel discussion, quiz, talent show, music games, and among others. The event, which is in conjunction with the State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, will be moderated by an on-air personality and convener of Integrity Campaign, Mr. Dari Adedotun. Meanwhile, there is a window of opportunity for children with talent or special gift to get selected for performance by sending short video samples of the skills, but not more than 30 seconds, to WhatsApp number 0705 335 6758. The Ogun State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development is organizing a virtual Children's Day celebration on 27th May 2020 with the theme, Promoting Girl-Child Education for Sustainable Development. According to a statement by the Commissioner, Mrs. Fumi Efakwe, sequel to the COVID-19 pandemic across the globe, and by extension, Nigeria and Ogun State, and the rule on social distancing, as well as gathering of not more than 20 persons, this year's celebration will be virtual. Consequently, the state is organizing a talent hunt for 20 secondary school students, each from the 3 senatorial districts in the state, who will participate in the following categories of activities lined up for the day: poem recitation on the theme, cultural display on COVID-19, quiz, and music. The event, which will be online, will take place at Ogun Tech Hub by 8 in the morning on Wednesday, May 27, 2020. Nigeria's tally of confirmed COVID-19 cases on Saturday rose to 7,526 as 265 new infections were announced by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. There was no death recorded from the virus on Saturday as death toll remained 221. Lagos recorded the highest daily figure of cases reported with 133 infections. There was a slight increase in the number of infections reported on Saturday, 265, compared to the number reported on Friday, 245. The agency, in a late tweet, said the 265 new cases were reported in 13 states: Lagos, 133, Oyo, 34, Edo, 28, Ogun, 23, FCT, 22, Plateau State, 6, Kaduna, 5, Borno, Niger, 3 each, Kwara, Bauchi, Anambra, and Enugu, 2 each. The agency said till date, 7,526 cases have been confirmed, 2,174 cases have been discharged, and 221 deaths have been recorded in 34 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Nigeria has so far tested 43,328 persons since the beginning of the pandemic. A breakdown of all the confirmed cases so far shows that out of the total confirmed cases, there are 5,131 active cases, 2,174 have recovered and have been discharged, and 221 deaths have been reported. As scarcity of the main staple food has risen beyond the reach of some people since the outbreak of coronavirus in Nigeria, stakeholders in the agriculture sector have advised government at all levels to support the farmers with financial assistance to boost food production. This was the view of respondents while speaking with our reporter Ife Sholade on the ways to achieve food security in the face of COVID-19 in the country. Details are presented in this package.
Like many sub-Saharan African countries, smallholder farmers make up 80% of Nigerian farmers and produce 70 to 80% of the food consumed in the country. It is important to note that farmers, even before the outbreak of the deadly coronavirus, have been battling with challenges such as climate change, resource constraints, coupled with access to finance. According to respondents, some of the factors militating against food security in Nigeria is the movement of farmers from their residence to their various farm sites due to lockdown order as a result of the COVID-19.
We want to thank God all the agri-inputs agents or selling points, they are open to farmers to come and buy inputs. Those that are into poultry, they have access to feed millers to get their fish. Fish farmers too, they have access to feeds. But movement of agricultural commodities is an issue under this present period.
Even though they give farmers the exception, but how about the transportation? Let's say we want to transport laborers to our farm. We find it very difficult. Even if you now get, even with your exemption and you get the farmers, the price you are going to pay is on the high side compared to when there is no pandemic. Now again, What about even moving the product to the market? When eventually it gets to the market, what about the purchasing power? The purchasing power of everybody has diminished totally.
They also prefer possible solutions to ensure the country is self-sufficient in the post-COVID-19 era.
But even if you want to start big too, yes, you also need advisory services and mentoring from free advisory services available from Ogun State Agricultural Development Program. In fact, the mandate of Ogtv is to support any level of entry in farming with information, access to land, access to credit, and access to markets.
COVID-19 came. We did not even stop our efforts at forging ahead. We made sure that farmers were listed as part of the essential worker, and we continue our work. And we are even going futuristic because we are making plans. Ogun State government in particular is making plans to support smallholders farmers with input.
The continuity of lockdown across the country affecting labor and input availability for agricultural operations, coupled with the stoppage of transport network, will seriously disrupt food supplies. Therefore, government and stakeholders must ensure that agriculture during the pandemic is given adequate consideration.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has said that more than 81,000 Nigerians are presently in need of assistance, while 73 persons have been killed in fresh communal clashes suspected to be linked to herders and farmers in Adamawa. The UN agency in a report said the persons were killed last Friday and Saturday in the Lamurde local government area of Adamawa State, an area notorious for herdsmen attacks. The UN report said urgent help and measures were needed to reach out to the population. The report added that the Adamawa State Emergency Management Agency conducted an assessment of the displaced population, and the agency identified food, shelter, and health care as the main needs. The trial of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on corruption charges has opened in Jerusalem days after he began a new term in office. Mr. Netanyahu, 70, is the first standing leader to face trial in the country's history. He denies accusation of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. Arrived at the courthouse for a brief hearing, he said the cases were aimed at toppling him in any way possible. English Championship side Hull City has said 2 persons at the club have tested positive for COVID-19. The club noted this in a statement on Sunday, but did not reveal the identity of the said persons. According to the club, the persons tested positive to the disease after the team conducted the first round of tests at the training ground. The two, who are both asymptomatic and feeling no ill effect, will now self-isolate for 7 days in line with the protocols set out in EFL before being tested again at a later date. Let's now bring you weather forecast. That was weather forecast for Monday, 25th of May, 2020. Don't forget, if it does not challenge you, it does not change you. You can now watch us live on these platforms: Apple, Roku, Windows, BlackBerry, Facebook, and Android devices. You can also watch live on Ogtv website, www.ogtv.com.ng/live. That was the news. We thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is a current reality. Our nation is on lockdown, just as many other countries of the world.
No school, no group worshipping, no gathering,
No party, no funeral, no wedding, no social life matters anymore.
Let us fight coronavirus together.
Stay safe and wash your hands regularly. Use alcohol-based sanitizer, maintain social distancing.
Stay at home and monitor your favorite TVs and radio stations for updates, accurate and safety information.
Do not rely on social media. Fake news can cause more deaths than coronavirus.
Do not share unverified information, especially on social media. Be charitable.
Let us fight this common enemy called COVID-19.
The government cannot
do it alone.
Let us support
by providing correct information.
This message is from broadcasting stations in Ogun State.